Astro Bot has debuted at almost perfect scores on almost every single different site you can find, including the aggregated score on Metacritic of 94 with a user score of 9.5. I put it in my list of games that you need to play for September, and it has been my third most anticipated game behind Black Myth Wukong as well as Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 this year. But I did not expect anything from what we are seeing in terms of the reception this game was going to get. This game might as well be named Dildo Bot, the way it is making people feel that have played this game. So the first thing I want to take a look at is the Metacritic reviews, because wow, they are absolutely popping off. Now, looking at reviews, especially for exclusives, I get a little bit nervous because people just review bomb the hell out of every single game that comes out nowadays, but it does not seem to be happening. Xbox fans do not seem to be coming in and juicing down these scores. We are looking at a, like I mentioned, 9.5 user and 94 metascore. And if you just click on these reviews without even reading any, look how many 100s we are seeing. It is absolutely insane. I haven't seen this many perfect scores for a game in a very, very long time. And now if a game is getting a perfect score, what does that necessarily mean? Does it mean that the game has no issues? Absolutely not. Does it mean that everyone on the planet is going to like this game? Absolutely not. You should always play games that you're interested in, not only based off of the reviews that you're looking at, although you can use those as a guideline. This game might be an exception. You might just have to play this game if you're any type of gamer, but obviously if you hate platforming games, you shouldn't play this game. But what does it mean if a game has a perfect score? That means that every game after is going to be judged up against this game. It doesn't mean it's perfect, doesn't mean it doesn't have issues. It means every platformer released from today on is going to be judged based on how good Astro Bot did things when they created this game. Now again, I have not played this game, so I could be wrong. That is just what I think it is looking like so far. Now going back and taking a look at some specific sites and what they have been saying about the game. The first, I always want to look at IGN's. I know everybody hates IGN. I'm not a huge fan of IGN. I do think they miss the mark from time to time, but I know if they give a game a 9, it might be a 7, it might be an 8. Sometimes, very rarely, it's exactly what they give it, but they gave this game a 9. So at the worst, it's probably going to be a 7. They always juice it up at least 2. I guess some games they juice it up little too much, brother. But they say it's amazing, a fantastically inventive platformer in its own right. It's particularly special for anyone with a place in their heart for PlayStation. So it's a love letter to the PlayStation fans. I've been seeing that a lot. They're kind of echoing that same sentiment. Now, if you go to The Gamer, a masterpiece, not a museum. They're literally in the title calling this game an absolute masterpiece. It's a masterclass in level design. Lets you play as our biggest legends. Everything they're saying, if you look at the pros and cons, one of the most inventive platformers of all time, the builds on PlayStation history rather than relying on the history, creative use of DualSense abilities. This has been something a lot of games do not do. So it's going to be really cool to dive into Astro Bot and see what they can do with the controller and all the capabilities that the PlayStation 5 controller has that the Xbox controller or other controllers you can buy out on the market do not have. The next is top-tier sound and level design. I would expect this as a studio making the mascot version of the game for PlayStation. You better be using, the top-tier sound, level design, and controller to the max and the highest of its ability. Same with the graphical fidelity of the game, etc., etc. But there are a few cons here, which is enemies can be repetitive. We've seen that a lot in games nowadays, specifically in the action RPG, not ARPG, even though they're the same thing. People have different notions of what that means, but licensing means some classic cameos miss out. I mean, I don't know if that's a con of the game. I don't know if you can say that's a con of the game. They're just going to do what's best, but they're going to, everybody needs cons. So how you juice up the Google algorithm is to give goods and you have to give bads. Being in marketing for years, specifically in digital advertising, that's how it goes. So no matter what, you're going to see some cons. Next, we're going to be looking at Eurogamer. They gave it a full 5 out of 5 stars. And then you look at Kotaku as well. Joy's platformer, pitch perfect look at the past, bitter sweet look at gaming's present and future. GameSpot as well here with their Astro Bot review called Fly Me to the Moon. If you scroll down, you're going to kind of see what the good and bad is here. Diverse abilities make every level feel fresh. This is very big for all platformers. Similarity varied environments keep the aesthetic constantly changing, but always fun. Excellent platforming at the center of it all. Secrets upon secrets, including special themed levels that are the best levels of all of them. Final boss and credit sequence that will quickly become famous for how cool it is. This is something I love. I hate when games end on a bad note. Not that saying this game is going to end on a good note, but I have seen this a few different times saying the end of this game is awesome. And then the last here, a level replay feature that makes collectible mop-ups actually enjoyable. This gives that feeling of replayability a lot of times to games. People don't like to go back, start a game in full, and then have to do all of the collectibles they already did or all of the achievements they already did. So it's good that there's a level replay feature that kind of enables better replayability of the game. And then the bad here, its hardest levels are frustratingly perfection or bust. Gating some cameo characters and 2 game crashes, that is not a good thing. If you're going to be making a game specifically for one console, that game better be optimized on release. But honestly, 2 game crashes in the grand scheme of things isn't normally bad for a brand new game releasing, especially when this is probably going to be a review copy anyway of the game that they're reviewing. Sometimes there's those day one updates that do make the game a little bit better, and then maybe you'll experience no crashes. So if you take a look at some other information here about what is Astro Bot actually up against in terms of Game of the Year, because as right now stands, it's probably either this, Black Myth Wukong, or Final Fantasy Rebirth. All 3 of those had very good reviews and came out this year, but if you take a look at this, with Black Myth Wukong's not even in the conversation, but it is up higher than any other game in 2024. It's one of the highest rated games we've actually really ever seen. And it beats Final Fantasy VII Rebirth by 2. And people are going to say Astro Bot, probably Final Fantasy VII, Rebirth, Balatro. And even though Black Myth Wukong's not on here, there was, I genuinely believe, a little bit of review bombing going on with Black Myth Wukong. That game was absolutely incredible. And then probably Tekken 8. All 5 of those are going to be up there for the Game of the Year and battling, unless something happens in the next few months where Dragon Age Veilguard comes out and it, kind of blows everybody out of the water. And then you have some recency bias with the game coming out as late as possible in the year. That always happens. And then also, obviously, it's not going to be up there, but Black Ops 6 is another big release coming out. There are a few games still coming out this year. You have a new Zelda game coming out at the end of this month, etc. But as it looks like, those are going to be the games battling out for Game of the Year, with honestly Astro Bot potentially being the one on top at this point. If it's not on top, it's looking like it at least is in public opinion, which obviously is the most important thing nowadays. So all in all, let me know what you guys think. I'm going to be playing this game. I'm going to grind it out and see how it is, see how it does utilize the PS5 capabilities as well as the controller for the PS5 capabilities. I'm very excited to play it. I know it's definitely for a younger age group, so if you're going to be playing this game, keep that in mind. This is not a game that's going to have the depth of a game made for a crowd in their mid-20s. It's also a platformer, so if you don't like platforming games, this might not be something you love, but if those things don't apply, you have to play this game. It's looking like that from what everybody is saying so far, and then obviously, if you don't like the game, that's fine, but hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hopefully I enjoy it. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.